Your first tutorial on how to use Canva to produce your propaganda make it task for Unit 5. So with the information I'm going to provide for you, you're going to be able to access Canva via Clever and through my teacher account. And for the most part, your screen should look pretty much like mine. And Canva's pretty awesome. If you've used it before, you already know what I'm talking about, but I've used it to produce quite a few things. But the purpose of this is to show you guys how to build your video. So what we're going to do here is actually go up to this what will you design today and click on videos. So we're going to be designing essentially a mobile video. So we're going to click here on mobile video. And then what's going to happen is Canva is going to open up a project for you. So notice the orientation is like your cell phone. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about designing. So this first tutorial is going to show you how to just sort of navigate this video platform. So here is your what would be on your screen or on your phone. Down here is your timeline. We'll get to that here in a second. You've got your play button. You have this black little dot here, this little triangle. This is what's going to help you move through and edit your video. And then over here is kind of all the stuff, right? All the cool things. So we are not going to use any preloaded designs. So there are lots of templates. We are literally going to start from scratch with a white background because you guys are the designers. We're not going to use templates. Elements, right? So let's talk about this. Elements are things that is already uploaded to Canva that you can use. And there's quite a bit. So you could actually click here and search. Let's say I wanted to search for superhero. I could search for superhero. And then it's going to pull up a whole bunch of stuff. So we've got all, which is everything, right? We can scroll down and see what they've got. Graphics. Graphics are sort of like just graphics, cartoons, drawings, things like that. Here's a little Shazam graphic. Notice there's no like copyright stuff, so you're totally free to use any and all of this stuff. The only question I have for the student account, which I don't know yet, is if you see a little mortarboard, which is the hat you wear at graduation, it says EDU. There's some questions if students can actually use those and publish those, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So then photos, right? So we've got photos that are uploaded to Canva. We've got videos. We've got shapes. Nothing really for superhero, and frames and charts. We're not really going to use those. Most of you guys are going to be working with graphics and photos and maybe some videos depending on your topic. So for graphics, let's say I wanted to add a graphic to my video. Let's use this sort of generic Shazam looking guy. So I click on him and now he appears on my video. So each time you add an element, it's going to put it up for 5 seconds. Notice it says 5 seconds there. If I hit the play button, it's just going to play through that 5 seconds and nothing's really happening because he's just a static graphic. But if I click on him, I can make him larger by, again, stretching him by the corners. I can make him smaller, and I can place him here in the center, so that red line indicates that he is now in the center. And there's some other things I can do for him. Once I click on him, I do get some options up here. So starting at the left, we've got Edit Photo. And then it'll actually do quite a bit of stuff. It has a background remover, which is pretty good. A Magic Edit, which I'm not really sure what that is. Magic Grab, Grab Text, Magic Expand. These are all things that you can play around with. There are lots of filters that you can use to place over top of your image. If you click the arrow, it'll go through to the other ones, or you can click See All. It actually has an intensity level, so you can raise or lower the intensity of that. So there's literally a whole bunch of stuff that you could do for any of these icons that you're adding. If you need to flip an image, you can flip it horizontally. You can flip it vertically. Those are things that might come in handy when you're designing. If you click on the info, it'll just sort of tell you what's going on there. If you want to create a border around your image, you can do that. You can do dotted lines, you can increase the weights, you can round the corners. Animate. So animate allows you to animate this image. So if I clicked like pan, then when he appears on the screen, he's going to pan in. Right? And when you select an animation, it says down here, animate both on enter, on exit. So if I wanted him to pan on both the enter and the exit of the slide, I would click on both. So that would look something like that. Again, 5 seconds you'll notice is a long time. So then he panned in and out. I could have him pan just on the exit, just on the enter, or again on both. And then I can increase the speed of that pan. I can make it really slow, or I can make it really fast. And then I can also change the direction. Most of the things that you do with the animation, right, have these options. So just be mindful of how things are moving and how fast they're moving. Position, you can put them in the middle, so you don't have to manually put them in the middle. And you can change the ratio and rotate them. You can also, when you do layers, you can overlap. So layers are important. You can also do that by right-clicking on the image. So you can lock an image in the background so that it doesn't move anymore. You can set an image's background. You can do lots of things if you right-click on your image as well. And then up here is transparency. If you were going to deal with an issue or an image that you needed to have more transparent, you can click on that and then play around with the transparency. So that's kind of some of the basics in terms of like adding elements. Let's check out next how long I want him to be on the screen. So again, 5 seconds is a long time. So to edit your timeline, what you're going to do is you're going to, if you hover over it, you'll get these 3 dots. Again, the 3 dots are kind of a menu option. So if you click them, you can add a page. You can duplicate the same page, you can delete it, or you could lock it, or you could split it. Splitting it basically just takes wherever your black line is from that triangle and will then split your clip. This is a good way to edit, which we'll talk about later on, but I could then click on there and let's say delete that. I can also edit the length of my image by clicking and dragging. So if I want it up for 3 seconds, I could click and drag it that way, and now that will just be on the screen for 3 seconds, and I still have the pan on. If I click back here and I go up here, it'll tell me what animation I have on. If I want to add another 5 seconds, I just click on the plus button and I've got another 5 seconds. And let's say I want to add this graphic of super, and I can add that for my next 5-second slide. Now, in between your slides, if you hover over there, you can do 2 things. You can add another page in between it if you need to, or you can have a transition. Your video is going to need to have a couple of transitions. In the building of mind, I've noticed that transitions are kind of hard, and it messes with the animation on your slides. So that's something we'll talk about later. But you can have your first slide dissolve into your second slide if you want to choose that one, like that. And there's all sorts. So that is here in between them on this little area in between. It's got a length, the duration of how long your dissolve will take. And if you hover over it, it'll give you a little preview of what the transition is going to look like. With our video, we're going to want to have lots of movement, but not everything needs a transition. So keep that in mind as you're working on transitions. Let's go back to this toolbar over here. So we've looked at the graphics, photos, right? So we've got lots of different photo options, but depending on how you choose to design your video, you may not really want to use photographs. Let's talk text, right? So text is pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. It works like most things that we've used in class. So you can add a text box here. There's preloaded things which you might want to look at, but again, I would prefer you guys kind of design from scratch. But there are some preloaded text options. So again, same thing, if you just click here, then it will add that text into your slide. We'll call these slides your 5-second slide. And if you double tap, you can change, right? But now we gotta change the size. So that's a good feature. So if we want to work with our text, we click on it, and again, that activates your toolbar here up at the top. This will change your text size. You can also click in the middle and do it a little bit faster. But you'll notice the G is out of the box. So then we would need to make the box bigger. I'm just going to put caps right there. So we'd have to change our text box. We can also make it bigger or smaller this way. So if you didn't want to use the text number, you could do that. You can, again, center it. You can add bullet points, which I don't know why you would do that. And you can actually change the letter spacing, which is really cool. I actually didn't know you could do that. So you can change the space between the letters. You can change the line spacing. That's not really important unless you do a whole big like paragraph. You can anchor the text box. You can ungroup them, so you can move them around. So you can do that. So now they're ungrouped with each other. You can click and delete them, right? So there's lots of options here. Once you enter that text, then again, it will activate your toolbar at the top. Lots of things going on here. You've got your text color, which is really cool because it'll pull colors from your photos, which is good for your color palette, so that's pretty awesome. If you want to add a color, you could have your color picker here, which you would select on your image, and it would add the color to Canva, which is awesome. You can also have effects. So if you wanted to have a shadow on your text or a lift, again, all sorts of options here. If you wanted to outline it, you could do that. But again, we want to not over design, but there's lots of different options. You can curve it. So just kind of play around with the text. That's a pretty cool thing. You can also animate your text. I found this to be a little challenging, and we'll talk more about it when we talk about designing. But you can animate your text. You can make it breathe. And again, just like with anything that we've seen before, you can change the scale. You want to do it in or out. There's lots of different options. Position, and then transparency, and some other things that you can play around with. So that's how you add text. The other thing that we're probably just going to use is uploads. So Canva's cool because you can upload images to use and design within Canva. You can see some of the ones that I've used down here for previous projects and activities that we've done. What you do for that is go to Upload Files, and then you're going to select, for example, like your piece of propaganda that you're going to use. And then once you select that, it's going to be added into your Uploads folder. So let's make a new 5-second slide, and then we're going to click and upload our image. And depending on its size, right, we'll just need to resize that a little bit. If you wanted to take it off to zoom in, you just use your trackpad and you can zoom in on your image. You can zoom out if you need to, like, make it bigger. So I'm going to actually kind of fill up my screen there with those. Okay. And then I'll zoom back in. If you're working down here on your timeline and you're want to get like really close to help do some editing, you can do that. That, I think, makes things a little bit easier sometimes. So you can zoom in on your timeline as well on the bottom. So these are, whoopsies, okay, I zoomed in too much. These are kind of the basics. Whenever you click on something, it activates your toolbar up here. You click over here for elements. If you want to hide it, you just use this little arrow here that'll hide it. Draw is not really anything I've messed with. I don't think that's something we want to worry about for our project. We're basically going to be working in elements, text, and uploads. Those three things we'll be able to cover. There's also audio down here. So with audio, you can also do a search. So we could search for, let's see, summertime, boom. Summertime vibes, happy summer. Here we go, let up. So we play that. There we go, super cool. So we can, again, take that and we can just drag it down here into our timeline. And then we'll talk a little bit more about editing. Oh, there it is. We'll talk a little bit more about editing in a next tutorial. But I can just drag that music in there and, it'll automatically sort of fill for the length of my video. So that's kind of your introductory lesson. So just kind of play around with Canva for starters and get to know it. And pretty soon you'll be pretty good at it. And then you'll just start discovering stuff on your own that you can do. And yeah, it's pretty awesome.